Hello and welcome to the Staying on Task podcast. I'm Theo.
I'm Michelle.
And today on the podcast we have
Mrs. Dungate.
And Mrs. Munro.
So the first question is, why teaching and what inspired you to get into it? Miss?
Okay, so I was never planning to be a teacher. I originally was a special constable in the police, and then I decided I wanted to get some experience of working with children. So I was going to work in a school for maybe a year or two at most, and then really enjoyed the pastoral side quite quickly and became like an assistant head of year and then a head of year, and didn't leave. So 18 years later, I'm still here as a teacher because I love the school and I love working with students.
Why did you get into biology? Because obviously police constable's very different to biology.
So I'd already done my degree previously, and then the special constable was alongside. That's like a volunteer role. So I was doing that whilst studying at university. So I was debating, do I want to stay in the police or do I want to do something different? And then I took more the biology teaching route.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. If we'd have said at 16, I would have never said that this is what I was going to do as my career. But I went to university, got my degree, then for 4 years I worked in a restaurant. I had nothing to do with teaching at all. And it was just because I needed a career change. I thought, what will they pay me to train to do that I might be good at? So I thought, I'll give teaching a try. And it turns out I'm quite bossy, and it worked quite well for me. And 23 years later, something like that, this was my first school and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Is there any lesson where you thought something didn't go to plan, something you planned to teach didn't go quite right?
Oh, it happens a lot of the time, but that's part of being a teacher, is learning how to think on your feet and be adaptable like that. And I think it happens all the time. There was one lesson in particular. I was trying to demonstrate something with a balloon. I had a kid in the class who was terrified of balloons. So you just can't. You can plan for those things. You know, you perhaps I should have looked ahead, but it's those sort of things where you've then got to change your mind. You know, and do something different. And that is part of.
That is a big part of teaching, isn't it? It's not just teaching a lesson. You are analysing what's going on in a room. There's 101 other things that you've got to be thinking about and responding to. So there's a lot of thinking on your feet, multitasking, and responding to different situations all the time.
But put your hand, you just got to put your hands up and say that. I don't think the students expect you to be perfect. You just got to say, well, that's not going.
Yeah.
So always sometimes a video won't play or something like that. You just
when did you realise that teaching was the career for you? Because you might have got into it and just been like, I want to do this, but then had a moment of realisation.
But again, it was always something I thought, if I don't like this, I can step back from it. I will find something else to do. But actually, when I started, it gave me the opportunity to talk about biology, which I love. Don't get me, I love talking about the biology, but actually working with the younger people, which I never thought I would have enjoyed doing, I actually really did. And you get so much back from it. Every day is different, regardless of the fact that you're teaching the same lessons over and over again. But
yeah, I think it's quite a privilege to work with young people, really, isn't it? And getting an insight into their lives and their experiences.
And they can be hysterical sometimes.
Absolutely. It's not a boring job, is it?
It's not. Things you can't laugh at, but you'll go back into the staff room and you'll say I'll
share a story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How flexible do you think the teaching role is?
In terms of like the content of what we have to teach, not very, is it? We've got a curriculum that we have to stick to, so there's not much flexibility there. And certainly sometimes you've got some students who are really struggling with some of the science, and you're having to teach some content that you think, if only we could take this bit out. This bit isn't going to be relevant to their lives and they're struggling with this. Could I teach them something that they would find more accessible? That isn't flexible at all, is it? But then there are other aspects in the room where I think this school particularly allows us to teach how we wish to teach. So we don't have to follow a certain way of teaching our lessons, a certain route through. We can adapt that to our own personalities and what works for us.
They have always been good like that. As long as we're doing the content, the style in which we deliver it, or indeed, I suppose, the order in which we deliver it, that we have flexibility with that.
Sorry. Are there any specific examples where you've had to change your teaching style?
There are. And I do it from day to day, because I can move from talking about, to year 13s to then my next lesson's a year 7. So you have to switch like that, and you're going from, the style in which you're teaching, the manner in which you teach, the relationship, it is very different, and that changes
massively from group to
yeah,
group.
Absolutely.
Even, if you've got 2 Year 11 groups, for example,
yeah.
you could teach the same lesson totally differently.
Absolutely,
to 2 different groups.
yeah.
Do you think it's easier now because you've both been teachers for several years? I mean, is it much easier to just walk into a lesson and teach than it was when you first started? Did you feel nervous about planning constantly?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I used to spend a lot of time planning, particularly A-level lessons. I spent a lot of time when I first started out. Whereas now we've done it quite a few times.
Yeah, I would have to say yes. It is. It's you know where you are with everything. There'll be curriculum changes and stuff. They'll put new bits in. We've just started health and social care. That I'm having to now, that's new. I'm having to learn a lot of stuff with that. But on the back of that is I know A-level biology more or less back to front, so I don't have to spend the time going through that. So.
Is there any job or role you would be willing to switch with in school?
In school?
That's a good question.
Oof, yeah, it is.
I mean, I used to be a head of year, and I do miss that pastoral side. So I would probably quite like to go back into something like that at some point, maybe assistant head of year, something like that.
Any particular year?
Any particular year? Well, I quite like here that we move with the year groups.
Yeah.
So you build those strong relationships with the students and the parents. So I suppose you wouldn't necessarily have a particular year. So no, not really.
If you weren't doing teaching, what do you think you would be doing?
I think every teacher asks themselves that at some point when you've had that day and you go, what else could I do? What can I do that's
Have you had days where you thought about, I want to quit, this isn't for me anymore?
I would say at the minute, probably not seriously, but there are still times when you think, okay, this job works well for me as my life is now with children and things like that. So this job works well. I don't know what else I could do. I suspect, though, if I could, and money was I would retrain in some, if I could, it would be in medical. I'm not wanting to, not medicine, but something within the whole...
like research.
Probably not even research. No, the actual working with patients. I think
people.
that's something I have learned from teaching. I would have said I'm not particularly a people person. I'm probably a little bit better at that than I thought I was, but I would imagine something like that. But
I think if I was to stay education based, I quite like sort of training teachers.
Yeah.
So something like at Bishop Lincoln, something like that, actually training new teachers
Passing
coming
on your
forward.
knowledge.
Yeah, something like that, I think.
How do you often deal with difficult behaviour in class?
Possibly it's not as well as I should. We have a policy that obviously we follow. So and we're very good at, we just do what we know we need to do. But you can't. Again, it depends on the class, because how you might deal with certain students is not how you would deal with it. You've got to pick your audience, basically. So you've got to go through the procedures, but that. Whereas a strong word with one student might have an effect, taking that same line with a different student is going to have completely the opposite effect.
I think sometimes reputation of the teacher can play a lot in how students behave, because some students behave in a teacher's class, even if the teacher's not really strict. It's just they know that teacher would...
You've set the bar previously.
You've set the bar of maturity, so that... People just
I would hope that we've been here long enough now that we know that.
Yeah, I think the teachers that have been here longer.
Yes, they've got that reputation. Yeah, but I think a big part of it as well is relationships with the students, building relationships, showing them respect. They tend to then show you respect back. How you talk to the students, it's all very important.
Even if you've just had a strong word with them, if you can then in the next sort of 5 minutes just have a pleasant interaction, and it makes the world of difference. Get them, letting go of all the secrets now, but get them back on board.
Was there any moment where you thought, this is harder than I expected?
Oh yeah, particularly in my training years. Yes, absolutely. And the thing is when you're new and you're training, you see all these experienced teachers, and you think, I am never going to be like that.
So Mrs. Munro was that for me when I started. It's like, how can she find it so easy? She's such a natural. She probably didn't think that, but that's what I thought.
And I had that from, I don't know that there's any, some of the sixth form students may still remember Mrs. Newnham now, but I had that when I started, and even when I was in my training schools, and then I'd try and do that, and it didn't work because I didn't really have the experience and things like that. So there were times when you've just got to find your own path. You can't try and be like any other teacher. You can only be what you are. And I can only teach really in the way that I teach.
What do you think something people don't realise about teachers is? Like, misunderstand?
We do have feelings.
We do take it home with us as well. It's
we think about what's happened during the day. It's not out the door and forgotten, is it?
Yeah. And we are concerned about, we know that students in general come into the classroom with baggage, and we're aware of that, but we still have a job to do. And we've got a responsibility to 30 students in the class. So, we've got to try and, do our best within those sort of parameters. But yeah, we know what you're going through. We do know it's difficult, but we also have a job to do. And yes,
the
we
end
have
goal of the
feelings.
Yes,
Yes,
at the end that we're working towards, aren't we?
How would you summarise your teaching style in maybe 3 words?
That's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
Not strict.
I'd say I was time strict. I do like to have a nice environment in the classroom. I do like to have a joke or a sort of a, if there's a student that's going to respond to that, I do like to have those moments because otherwise that's a very long. It's a long day if you don't have those moments, I guess. But I talk a lot.
Yeah, I think I do too. I think I'm quite clear on, sharing the objectives. We know what's happening in the lesson and we try and stick to that, and we get through and we know where we're heading by the end of the lesson, and we try and achieve that. I'd say quite clear.
What do you think the work-life balance is like being a teacher? Because obviously when you first started, Mr. Dickinson and Miss Thomas were saying that it was a lot at home, and your whole life was sort of dedicated to education and stuff.
And I think that when you're coming into teaching, you're going to be working in the evenings. That's part and parcel of being a teacher. And even now, after years of teaching, there are some evenings when I have to work if we've got mocks, deadlines.
You have those weeks where everybody's doing a test at once, and then you get all those.
You can't possibly do that in the few hours free time that you get during the week. So it can be busy, but it's definitely easier now than it was. So to any newly qualified teachers, just remember that it does get easier.
Yeah, so that the work-life balance is easier, but that's part of, we're both parents, and that's the one thing that teaching really can allow or can work well with if you're going to work, is the fact that it allows you that time with your family, because your working hours are their working hours, basically, and their holidays are your holidays. So that helps. I never considered going part-time with that, but that which means that I therefore do have to spend that, like Sunday mornings is my get stuff done. But there is less of that now, because I've been teaching for so long. But there's always a balance. You always think, am I doing enough of the parent thing? Am I doing enough of the teacher thing? But it's just
I think everybody
part
feels
of it.
that regardless of what job they've got, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
What would you say your hobbies are, or how you switch off after a stressful week?
I do go to the gym. I'm sure lots of students know that. They've seen me in there.
I do not go to the gym, but I do like to get outside. I do like to go walking. I read a lot. I would say though I'm pretty boring. I don't do anything. There's nothing particularly exciting in terms of my hobbies. I can't let any secrets out of the bag there. I'm just
getting out in the fresh air, going for walks, bike rides with the kids, that kind of thing.
Have you ever had a specific student change your perspective on something?
Oh, that's a great question. And if you'd have asked me that question and prepared it, I could have probably remembered something.
Yeah, I think certainly in the head of year role, which you've done as well, haven't you, Mrs. Munro? You just become so much more aware of what's going on in students' lives. And like you said earlier, when they come into your classroom, they're maybe not really in the frame of mind to just be learning biology. They've got so many other things going on, and just having that insight into their lives really does make you think differently sometimes, and then how you would respond to their needs based on what they've perhaps gone through. It really does make you more aware, doesn't it? It is,
but having children who are going through it now, I see that from the other side of, just what the workload is and how much people have it. Yeah. So it does make you think a little bit about, hang on, they've got their own work-life balance that has to be maintained. So it's.
And we have such high expectations of them, don't we? But sometimes it's actually going, well, hang on, what else? What other deadlines have you got at the moment? What else is going on in your life?
Yeah.
Is it strange because you both have children, don't you, entering into education? Is it strange to see it from the other side? Because now you're getting the parent side, whereas before you were just on the teaching side.
I often think about things differently now. I'm a parent, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I always say, don't I? As a parent, I'm thinking.
yeah. No, I've do the same thing, and it's. Yeah, you do. You then looking at it, going, what you see what they're going through, and then you think, well, hang on a second, I need to think a bit more about what's
on the scale, isn't it? Because my children are still primary school age, so I'm seeing them now, thinking at some point they might come here to William Farr, or a secondary school, and it's thinking about that transition, and it's so sort of fluffy, isn't it? Primary school, it's warm and nurturing, and they get hugs from their teachers and all of that, and then they go up to secondary, and it's a very big jump, isn't it? Yeah. So it's thinking, well, what do we do as a secondary school to bridge that gap between primary and secondary? And I'm always thinking about that now, because my son's in year 4, and thinking about how that jump will be for him up to secondary. Whereas
I'm very conscious that I don't want that we share the same school. So that's
Mrs. Munro's child.
I need to be Mrs. Munro, and they are who they are. And, that you have to still maintain that professional gap, I suppose. But in the meantime, you're still very much aware that, you kind of know what they're going through, I suppose.
Yeah.
What kind of teacher do you hope to be in the future?
We've been teachers for a long time, haven't we? Yeah, a retired one. That's maybe a little bit way off yet, Theo.
Retirement is too far away.
I don't know. I just hope I can always be someone who is approachable, that students feel that they can knock on my door and say, look, miss, I'm really struggled with this. Could you go through it with me? Or I'm having trouble with something. Can you just have a chat? I feel like students feel they can do that with me, so hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, and I hope I continue to do work with the sixth form, because I do work within the sixth form team. I hope continue to do the biology and get students interested in biology as well, and have them sort of engaging with it like I was, because that's exactly how I was when I was 17, 18. I can remember my biology teachers now, and I hope that to some extent there are some that might go off to university and just remember little bits that I've said or look back with some fondness on.
Absolutely.
Is there anything,
even though it was hard.
Is there anything in biology right now that's like exciting, new research or anything that you know?
Well, we've talked about some in triple and in combined, haven't we, in our biology lessons with the monoclonal antibodies and cancer treatments. I mean, that's just phenomenal what they're doing there. It's amazing. Stem cell research.
Yeah.
What we can now treat that we couldn't, even when we were teaching 10 years ago, the curriculum, we're adapting it, aren't we?
Completely,
of new science and research.
Some students have better understanding of viruses now, because everyone went through COVID and experienced that, and you can sort of use it as a...
I referred to it all the time in biology unit 5, didn't I? Kept saying, remember during COVID, what did we do to protect ourselves?
Yeah,
so it's that link, and it makes it more...
That's what I love about it. It's the getting this is happening, how does this relate to you? And that's where biology, I think, is amazing. Like, let's take this meningitis thing that's going on at the minute. There's so many links to stuff that we are currently doing, and it's relevant because we've got students who are of that age and going out and doing, and then there's so much sort of controversy over and the anti-vaxxers who are out there saying that these we shouldn't be doing this, but look at, it's not a direct consequence of that by any means, but it's just having an awareness of those things, I suppose, really, and looking into, well, why is this, meningitis B's around all the time, so why is this suddenly an issue? What's happening there? And I've been trying to work out, why has this suddenly become a thing in this little sort of pocket, this outbreak?
Have asked me about it, they've come in and asked about it because they're interested, and it's something they've obviously heard about in the news, and they're going, how would that impact us?
Should we be worried about it?
Well, is it nice to be able to sort of give that guidance to students?
Of course
because
it is, because we've been teaching it, haven't we? We've literally just
they're the best bits in biology. Those are the best bits for me, when I can see, when this happens, this is why. This isn't that's what gets me about it, and that's what always has is these little changes happening or whatever, and then just being able to explain why that is.
And to know that your teaching is actually making a real life impact on.
If you can
someone.
see students going, oh, like that, just
Yeah.
look at that. You can't see me raising my eyebrows and looking surprised, but it's that sort of
increases understanding.
It does, yeah. Just going, oh right, okay. And if there's just some of that they, I don't know, they take home or they take out away from the lesson, then so be it.
In terms of research as well, is there anything like potentially worrying in terms of biology?
I mean, you could talk about bioweapons, I suppose.
Yeah, you could, and I
Got
mean,
that concern.
Absolutely, and I do think that a lot of this misinformation that's about at the minute, it's not it's not research and stuff, but it will have an impact, and there are times I just want to shake people and say just read around, don't just believe everything that you read and where you read. Think about where you're reading it, and just
the thing with social media now, isn't it? There are lots of students that just
ask the
reading
questions
things on there and believing it as fact without actually reading the proper research papers on it.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a curveball, but what would you say to your 16-year-old self if you could speak to them right now?
You'll be all right.
Yeah, you're going to be okay.
You're going to be okay.
I struggled with my A-level choices because I could, it sounds really big-headed, but I got quite good GCSE grades, so I could have done any subject like you guys will. And you've got your teachers going, oh, do my subject, do mine. How do you choose? How do you choose what A-levels to do when you like them all and you could do them all? So I really struggled to choose my A-levels. And I worried about it, but it all turns out okay in the end, didn't it? Yeah. So if you're not too sure what you want to do, it will be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever choices you make, you will make the best of it. So just choose subjects that you're pretty good at and you're going to enjoy.
And lastly, what do you hope listeners take away from conversations like this?
I guess I suppose it's what you set out to do with this whole podcast thing, which is so that we are humans. We have
human beings,
lives. We have our interests and
families.
Yeah. Well, we'd really like to thank you for coming on, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Pleasure.